Let me show you how to set up an item. We go to items, add an item, and here we're going to type in the code. Now the most important thing is, and there is no right or wrong way to use codes. If you have a lot of items, you might use alphanumeric combinations. So for your first department, you might use a 3-letter prefix, and then each item would have a 001, a 002, and so forth. Or you might use one letter for, if you only have a few departments, you might use one letter to say it's this department with a numeric code to distinguish between the number of the item in that specific department. But if you do not have a lot of items, the best way is to keep it simple and give it a name that is very close to the actual name. So I'm going to set up an item for hammers. And my description is, guess what? Hammers. Now I can have a claw hammer, and I can have I don't know. There are different types of hammers, I know, but you can then distinguish here, and you can even make your code different, or you can even put your codes in capital letters if you want to, and you can change your codes afterwards. So it's not cast in concrete here. Right. Categories. I've already got the groceries categories, but obviously hammers are not groceries. So I'm going to say add a new category, and I'm going to make this hardware. I'm going to say save. Now, here's the most important thing that you have to know about an item. Anything else can be changed afterwards, but once you've chosen physical or service, you cannot change this afterwards. Now, physical items you will only use, and this is literally only if you want to keep track of the physical number of items that you have in inventory. If you do not want to keep track of the physical inventory, or if it's not a physical item, you will use service. And this is very, very important to make sure that you choose the right one. I will make a separate video clip for physical items because it works completely differently from service items. Right. Now, here you will see there's an active or inactive little button. If you untick it, it's obviously inactive. If you tick it, it's active. This is a useful tool, especially if you've got a lot of items, because you have an option where you can exclude inactive items from picking up on lists that you use to look up. So if I click on an invoice, if I click on my list of items, then it won't show me the inactive items. And if you've got a lot of inactive items, that can be very useful. It will not necessarily in all businesses be something that would be a very, very useful tool, but it's something to keep in mind. Right. If you have an opening cost, that is mostly something that you will have for a physical item, but sometimes you have an actual cost that's attached to a service. Now, in this case, we do have a physical item, although we are not going to track the inventory. So let's say the opening cost is 20 Rand for a hammer, and the exclusive selling price is, I'm going to sell this for 45 Rand because I'm family of Scrooge McDuck, it seems to me. And then it will automatically calculate the inclusive selling price. Or I realize, oh, no, I want to sell it for 45 Rand inclusive, and then it will automatically calculate the exclusive price from there. So that's very useful. Your unit price, you will basically choose the unit that you're going to sell it in, and you can see this is an open box. That's not a drop down. So you can literally define your unit the way you want to. You can make it per packet, per bunch, per 12, or per dozen, or per 100. You can make it each. You can leave it open. The sky's the limit. You choose. Now, let's say I want to keep track of the sales of my hardware in a different sales account. Then I'm going to say I want to add a new sales account, and I'm going to say sales hardware. And I'm going to save that. And then obviously, if my sales is going to a specific account, I want my purchases to go to a specific account as well. So that one I make purchases, hardware. Before you set up something like this, just give us a ring that we can just talk through the structure of the books to make sure that it's set up the right way. When we do the setup, that you don't do a bunch of transactions and then we're like, oh, okay, we need to change it. I mean, we can change it afterwards, but it's just easier in the beginning. The GP percentage, it will calculate itself. So if I see 48% and I'm like, oh, that's a little bit much, I can then go and change my inclusive selling price. Here I will, it will also give me the physical amount. These are calculated automatically. VAT on sales. Okay, so this is the percentage of VAT that you will levy on every sale. Now, this will, in nearly every case, it will be standard rate, but you might have items that you export, and then you will choose one of the export percentages, or you might be a farmer who is selling stuff that is zero rated, in which the zero rate percentage will be applicable. If you are unsure in any way, please let us know that we get this right before we start to process transactions. Right, now that we've set up all of this, we go to the price lists. Now, you can set up as far as I know, an unlimited number of prices, but obviously keeping it simple is one of the secrets of good business. So I've got Winnie's clients, and that's Winnie the Pooh if you want it, and Tigger's clients. Now, Winnie's clients get a better price because she's full of honey, and her exclusive selling price is lower than the price that Tigger is charging. So you will see that the price that we charged here is standard. This is our default price for 45 Rand. And so we're going to, that's the Winnie's client's price. But if we say Tigger's clients are going to pay more, we say, okay, they're going to pay 55 Rand instead of the 45 Rand. And you can then choose which one is applicable for the specific client item. Right. So you can basically set up the prices for the different prices, and you will see when we do the invoices, we can choose which price list will be applicable to that specific invoice. And you can also choose for your customers, you can also choose a specific price list to be applicable to that specific customer. Right, activity will only, you will see that it's grayed out, and all the ones that are grayed out will only get information as we process, use it in different invoices or in elsewhere in Sage Accounting. You can make notes here. If there's I can't really think of a note that I can make with an item, but you can put an action date here. So you will see literally on the opening screen where we add the item, you will see that the item will be there plus the quantity if it's a physical item. And then it will also show you a little calendar in green, orange or red, depending on how far it is from the date that action needs to be taken. You can put in a subject, you can put in the note, you can add an attachment if you want to, and then you can add lines below or delete a note if you want to. You can also put a picture of the item here if you want to, and there are user-defined fields that you can use. If you want to do that, please let me know, and we will help you with that specific setup, because that is always a customized thing. When you're done with the setup, you can just double check everything that you've done, and then you can save, and that's how you set up an item.